My dear students, today I'm going to give you some information about Ausubel Advanced Organizer Model. Introduction. There are various methods of teaching adopted by a teacher to cause learner to learn the learning material related with the content of a course or curriculum quite effectively and efficiently. Jerome Bruner's opined that learning will be meaningful, useful and memorable for students if they focus on understanding the structure of the subject being studied. And in order to grasp the structure of information, Bruner believes that students must be active. They must identify the key principles for themselves rather than simply accepting teachers' explanation. This process has been called discovery learning. In contrast to Bruner's approach to discovery learning, David Ausubel, the famous educational psychologist, argued that if teachers take due care in its presentation method, such as lecture or other form of expository teaching, and if teachers present materials in a carefully organized and sequenced form, students can acquire knowledge primarily through reception rather than discovery. And the fear that this kind of methods result in reception learning on part of the learner may breed passivity in the learner. Rote memorization, which is not meaningful learning, may be ruled out. Thus, David Ausubel Advanced Organizer Model owes its existence, which belongs to the family of information processing model as classified by Joyce and Weil. First, let us discuss what is an advanced organizer. Advanced organizer is an introductory statement used as a tool by a teacher during lecture or expository teaching for the purpose of introducing the topic and illustrating the relationship between what the students are about to learn and the information they have already learned. Ausubel stated that for learning to be meaningful, the information should be frequently linked or anchored to relevant aspects of an individual's existing structure. This process of linking new information to pre-existing segment of cognitive structure is referred to as subsumption. An advanced organizer can take any of the following forms: concept definition, an analogy, as well as a generalization. According to Ausubel theory, meaningful verbal presentation helps the students in acquisition and retention of large bodies of subject matter and easy learning. Now, let us come to the types of advanced organizer. There are two types of advanced organizer, according to Joyce, Weil, and Calhoun. Number one is comparative organizer, which is typically used to activate already existing schemas. They are designed to remind you of what you already know and discriminate them with the new concepts presented in order to prevent confusion caused by their similarity. Example, living and non-living things. The next types of advanced organizer is the expository organizer, which the teacher present, provide, and explain basic concepts so that students will need to understand the upcoming unfamiliar learning material. Example, cell and their different organelles. Now, let us come to the description of the model in terms of its basic elements. David Ausubel theory of meaningful learning provides substantial material for what has been termed here as expository teaching model. The model of teaching developed here is based on Ausubel ideas about subject matter, cognitive structure, active reception learning, and advanced organizer. The model involves planning for Ausubel activity, implementing Ausubel activity, and evaluating Ausubel activity. This step will be described by incorporating them in the elements of basic teaching model. Now let us first come to the first step, that is planning for Ausubel activity. Here, teacher will identify goals based on learner's background, as Ausubel believed that whether a material is meaningful depends on the learner and the material, not the method of presentation. Hierarchical structuring of content is determined. Ausubel is of the view that each of the academic discipline has a structure of concepts that are organized hierarchically. Several methods are used to form the structure of content, which are analysis of concepts into subordinate, coordinate, and superordinate relationships. Then, organizing the content through the use of interrelated generalizations. Formation of advanced organizer is the final task in planning the model. It links the content of the lesson to the learner's cognitive structure and helps to organize for the learner the material which is to be learned. Focus is to help the teachers to organize and convey large amount of information efficiently to the learners, thereby strengthening and enriching the existing cognitive structure and causing meaningful learning in the learners. Now let us come to the next step, that is implementing Ausubel activity. This step is also known as the syntax of the model. It involves three phases as phase 1, activity, that is presentation of advanced organizer. After clarifying the aims of the lesson, the teacher acts as the primary source of information and provides an advanced organizer as a set of hangpins which are termed as intellectual scaffolding, a structure on which the learner can hang the ideas and facts which they would be presented during their lesson, and the learner receives the information. The teacher will prompt awareness of knowledge and experiences in learner's background. Phase 2 activity, presentation of learning task or material. After the presentation of an advanced organizer, the content is developed for this. The organizer is broken into subordinate concepts or components, and these are presented in a hierarchical form of structural outline. For developing the structural outline in a hierarchical form, the technique of progressive differentiation is used, which is the process of breaking down broad ideas into narrow, less inclusive ones. This process includes the considerations of similarities and differences between concepts or ideas. Through the process of integrative reconciliation, the differences or inconsistencies in the new material are resolved. The desired outcome of the process of integrative reconciliation is a unified body of knowledge in which relationships are noted and differences or anomalies are recognized. The teacher has to maintain an interactive environment in which the students are encouraged to participate and interact freely through the use of different techniques. Stimulus variation will be helpful here. Let us come to the phase 3 activity, that is strengthening of cognitive organization, which involves consolidation of the learning task using principles of integrative reconciliation. Promote active reception learning, elicit critical approach to subject matter, clarify ideas, apply ideas actively such as by testing them. Now, let us come to the next element of the model, that is social system. This model is highly structured and teacher-dominated. However, as soon as the learning material is presented to the learners in the Phase 2 social system of the model, the Phase 3 begins to be turned into an interactive style, as it requires active collaboration between the teacher and the learner for causing a meaningful learning. Now, let us come to the next element of the model, principles of reaction. The model calls for appropriate attention, caring and responses on the part of the teacher to the student's reaction and requirement concerning with the attributes, namely, seeking clarification about the meaning, nature and purpose of new learning material, differentiating it from and reconciling it with the existing knowledge for strengthening one's cognitive organization, making the acquisition of new learning quite relevant to the student's future learning and life, resulting in the promotion of a critical approach and information processing ability for the acquisition of knowledge. In this way, the employment of the model requires quite active role, keen observation, and readily responses on the part of the teacher in dealing with the student's silent and verbal reaction for acquiring meaningful learning as a result of the teacher's expository teaching. Now let us come to the support system of the model. The model requires the following support for resulting into some meaningful outcomes: a well-organized learning material, conceptualization and building of the appropriate advanced organizer relevant to the learning material, establishment of the integral and appropriate relationship between the conceptual organizer and the content, the needed competence and presentational skills on the part of the teacher for helping the students gain maximum advantages out of his expository teaching. Now let us come to the next application of the model. Number 1, the model can be used for teaching the content related to almost all the subjects of the school and college curriculum to its skilled presentation. Number 2, it can help the teacher to convey a large amount of information meaningfully within a time frame through expository methods of teaching like lecturing, demonstration, reading, and exhibiting verbal contents. Then we have number 3, it can also prove helpful in increasing the learner's grasp of factual information linked to and explained by the key ideas through the advanced organizer and presentation of the learning material on the part of the teacher. The fourth application is it can help in explaining and making the students learn the art of critical thinking and cognitive reorganization through its mechanism of direct instruction in orderly thinking and in the notion of knowledge hierarchies. Next we have the fifth application. Here the material presented through the application of this model in a deductive way can be further subjected to inductive concept attainment for reinforcing the material and also informally evaluating the student's acquisition of the material. Next application is this model can be successfully used for structuring extended curriculum, sequence or course and to instruct the students systematically in the key ideas for ultimately gaining perspective on the entire curriculum area of a subject. Next, seventh application is it can be quite helpful to the teachers as well as learners for teaching and learning the skills of meaningful reception learning through expository teaching. Then we have the last application, that is, the use of the model may enable the students to learn from expository teaching like lectures, reading, and other media used for presentation, besides being useful in developing their interest in inquiry and precise habit of thinking. In conclusion, the advanced organizer model implicates that we must relate and reconcile what we know with what we are learning in order to enrich or strengthen the learner's cognitive structure, and makes it easy for students to make connection between one concept to the next and enhance the possibilities of learning or retention of new knowledge or information, thus infer meaningful learning. Thank you.